I'm going to explain a little more about the curved array from the Curved Shapes workbench in this video. So the way I used to model my baits was I would start out by drawing a side profile like this. Then I would create something called a profile mapping points sketch, where I would go in and reference the geometry of the side profile, and then I would make matching points that were vertically aligned at strategic places along the profile. Then I would create a bunch of loft profiles and I would map them to those points, and I would go into each one by one and create, in this example, a circle, and I'd bring in that mapping point of external geometry and constrain to that. Once I was done, I would perform a loft in the part workbench, and I would get something like this. And if I ran into this situation where I didn't quite follow my outline, well, then I'd have to go back to my profile mapping point sketch, add some more points, add some more lofts, etc. And the curved array in the Curved Shapes workbench is a much faster way to accomplish this. So let's talk about how it works. I'm going to go ahead and hide these loft profiles and my mapping points. And I'm going to show you what the curved array looks like if we just create a circle, that one circle, which is the same thing I had in my loft profiles, and it's not constrained to anything. And then I create that curved array using the circle against that side profile. And it looks like this. From the side, it looks just like our profile, but from the top, well, it looks weird. It doesn't look like a circle here. And if I look at the back of the bait, it doesn't look like a circle there either. Why is this? Well, the reason it looks like this has to do with something called bounding boxes. Even though I started with a circle which has some natural constraints, its bounding box gets stretched. Let me show you in another program what that looks like. I'm here in Inkscape and I have a circle. And if I select it, you will see a box around this. And that's called a bounding box. And it's basically the smallest size box that will fit around our object. So when the curved array tries to place your circle along that profile, in some places it realizes that the circle is not tall enough. And so it simply stretches the bounding box and you end up with a shape like that. Or if it's not wide enough, you end up with a shape like this. So it turns out that the curved array doesn't care about your constraints. It only cares about your bounding box. And that's easy to see on the circle, but it applies to every shape like this star or even this odd shape here. Same thing. If it gets stretched in any dimension, it's going to start to look a little weird. Now, the reason why this curved array looks weird is because we gave it that side profile and no top profile. So let me hide that. And let me show you a curved array with a top profile. Let's first look at the top profile. So there's the top of our view, and it's got this nice minnow shape, the side view, of course. And when we take that same circle and create a curved array from it, we end up with this shape. Let me hide the profiles. And we end up with the shape we're expecting. If I bring back the profiles, you can see that we match those profiles basically exactly. Okay, that's super powerful, right? And we can get the shapes of our bait really fast. But the other great thing about it is we can play with other profiles. So if I hide this array and I leave that top profile visible, but I show you a different top profile, like this. It's kind of a tadpole-y shape. Well, if I create the curved array with the same side profile and the same circle against that shape, I'm going to get a lure that looks like that from the top. It still looks from the side the same way as my side profile did. And so you can have a lot of fun with this. You can create your side profile, you can create your top profile, you can get them just the way you want. And then you could get into even some more advanced shapes for the front profile. Everything I've shown you so far has been against a circle. But let's hide some stuff. And let's go back, we're going to use our normal top profile and our normal side profile here. And if I create a front profile that is a rounded rectangle, just a simple rounded rectangle, and then create a bait along that, let's hide our profiles again, and let's look at it from all the directions. So here's the isometric view. There's the front. There's the side. And let's look at the back. Let's see, where's my hotkey? There we go. That's what the back of the lure looks like. Now we can even do crazy stuff, like we could start with a star and create a bait that looks like this. And yes, I know you're not going to create a bait that looks like a star, but this just gives you an idea of the kind of things you can do. And so when I was preparing for this video, I thought, what's a weird shape that I could do that might be cool or might not be cool? Like, I won't know until I see it. And I thought about the complicated shape of crown molding or a baseboard. So I went and I looked at a website for a big box store, and I found this profile, and I just sort of rounded off the top, right, and mirrored it over. And I thought, what would it look like that? And since in this video so far I haven't shown you how to make a curved array, I'll go ahead and do that now. Of course, I do it in a lot of my tutorial videos, but maybe you haven't seen them. So to create a curved array, you're in the Curve Shapes workbench, which you can get from the Tools add-on manager if you don't have it installed already. And then once you have it and you've selected it, you're going to select your front profile first, and then your other profiles, your side and top profiles. And just create this icon that says Curved Array. Once you do that, a lot of times nothing happens on the screen. So if you go down here to the Properties in the Data tab and change the number of items, this is the number of sort of loft profiles. That seems to usually make it refresh almost right away. So let's expand this and hide our original profile here and go back up to the Curved Array Properties and change it to a solid. And our lure looks something like this. I'm getting a little error here, and that has to do with how I created this baseboard. Nothing to worry about. Now, just like my very first example, I don't quite have enough loft profiles. My front is too pointy. So if I just select the curved array, come down to the Data tab, and change this number of items to something like 40 or 30 or 50, now it's going to conform a little better to my shape. Let's turn shading on, and then we can kind of see what that would look like if you were to 3D print it. So that's the front of the lure, the side of the lure, the isometric view, and let's look at the back. My baseboard kind of looks like a bread box. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about the curved array. It has really made my workflow fast. And once I understood how those bounding boxes worked, I was able to work with it as a tool in a much more effective way. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Throw a like up on this video if it helped you.